Hello and welcome to Startups in Real Life. This is where we'll be spending 10 weeks, 2 times a week, discussing with Rae Hames about all things startups. If you have any insight, support, or advice, we'd love to hear it. Drop us a message and we will connect. Let's get to it. Good morning, Rae. Well,
Morning.
Actually, not morning. Hello, Rae.
Hi.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Top of the day. I'm good.
Top of the day. Last week, we talked about funding, tools, company types, and more. Let's talk about the public launch of the company today. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, we are getting there. It's exciting.
Okay, good.
Let's get into it.
I've been wanting to start with those 2 to 3 things. So I'm going to start with 2 to 3 books that you're reading right now and why.
Okay, I do have, usually I'm a one book at a time gal, but right now I do have a three stack on my nightstand. The first is for work, so it's called Trajectory Startup. It's by Dave Parker, and it's a book that my coach recommended. It's full of like super solid guidance about how to find product market fit, and as I'm conducting CMO interviews, to really understand, and validate our product and validate our go-to-market positioning, this book has been really helpful in shaping my questions. So that's for work. For fun, I'm reading Quietly Hostile by Samantha Irby. It's a new release. If you're not familiar with her, she's a screenwriter. She's a essayist, and she releases these collections of like comedic essays every couple of years. So this is a new one. I'm about halfway through. And then the third one that I'm reading, I just started, is called Watching the English by Kate Fox. And it's a collection of observations of why the English are like they are. For anybody that hasn't followed me on the map, I recently moved to the UK from San Francisco, and one of our friends here gave me this book as like a cultural primer. So I'm just getting started on that one as well.
I'm curious, if you're usually a one book at a time thing, why 3 books right now? What's going on?
Well, I like that all 3 are totally different. I feel like I'm not jumping between stories. It's really hard for me to do that. And I'm generally a quick reader, so it's easier for me to sit down, commit to a book, and get through it in a day or two. Although my best reading happens on planes and trains. So the more I'm traveling, the more I read.
Right. All right. So as I said, this week, company launch, at least that was the plan. So because we're doing this, as it is, let's talk about that a little bit. Tell me your primary focus to get across that finish line.
Yeah. So as we talk about like launching the company, it feels like there's a couple milestones along this path. Like candidly, I wanted to be doing this launch last week, and the timeline slipped a little bit because of our website isn't put up yet. And step 1 in our launch is announcing our company. We exist. Here's what we do. But the product won't actually be live until July. Another 6 or 7 weeks out. And so there's kind of point 1, which we're aiming to go live this week, which is the primary pieces around our website. I think it's the most critical piece that we need to have live to tell people what we do, and also to start guiding them to take action. Because our product won't actually be live for another few weeks. In the meantime, we want to facilitate demo sessions and ideally generate early signups. The site launch is really just a homepage, a demo page, terms and conditions, but we'll be adding pages to that site week by week that highlight each major feature and how they solve for each major customer point. Pardon? Thanks. And this is co-working.
We'll talk about co-working spaces on another time, because there's the pros and cons, right?
Yeah, let's talk about that next time. So like I was saying, the website is our first primary hero piece of content that we want to have as we announce the company, so that people can actually take action as we start to filter out content, across LinkedIn, across other social channels, because otherwise they can't do anything with the news of our launch. And so following on from that, once the website's live, we'll be formally launching our LinkedIn presence. Obviously, I'm doing what I can to start being more active on that platform. I think it's going to probably be our primary marketing channel for the next few months at least. Makes sense. We're targeting, we're a B2B company. We're targeting CMOs. This is where they are. And so, LinkedIn is going to be our primary channel there. And then the third piece is about a press release, which is really a formal step, I think, in launching. You've done a lot of press releases in the past. I think that this is something that's kind of new to me. I had a question for you is like, what's the goal for press releases and where do they actually get published if you're not working with a PR agent?
Yeah. So you can kind of put them out to the wire is what it's called. And the intention that I think things have changed over the decades, but the intention is to just have that one piece that states your messaging, your positioning, what it is you're trying to do. And that way, you then have on top of that, ideally you have someone writing about it as well, but they're pointing back to a lot of what's being stated in that original release, but they're interviewing you or getting statements from you and then going deeper into what that is. And then once it goes out on the wire, then others can pick it up as well. So usually the goal oftentimes, if you have this, is to have an exclusive, if you can get somebody to do that. And then from there, others just pick up after that and they spin that or they spin it off the release because the release has a lot of the details that may not always get mentioned. And so it's like everyone's going to the original source. So it's, pay a little bit of money, throw it out there. But now, you just, you're using LinkedIn, you're using a few different things as well. TechCrunch, great place to end up if you can. And there's others as well. So to what I just mentioned around corporate messaging and positioning, can you share with us what you've learned on this topic and how you're applying those learnings for the company launch?
Yeah, I think the macro lesson is like, don't get too attached to core messaging if it's not totally resonating with your audience. I think that I did this for a really long time with my last company, and I think most passionate founders have the same thing where you've got this idea in your head, and you know exactly how you want to explain it to the world. But unless your audience is like totally nodding their heads along with you, you got to keep changing the language until it really hits. Like, I think that I've learned, like, if you have to explain your elevator pitch, it's not an elevator pitch. And I think that it's important to be humble with that. I think that that's a big lesson that I've learned is like, just don't be so precious with it. I think that knowing your positioning, especially as it relates to customer pain points, what exactly you're doing to address them, how you fit in with a competitive set, like knowing those facts are really important to help your audience understand what new value you're bringing to market and what your product actually does. But I think that the messaging around it and how you frame your value propositions is really a test and learn situation where you've just got to go out, start talking and see what gets head nods or likes, and not be afraid to keep massaging that. I think that that's something that I feel very flexible on right now. And what I've been trying to do in these early customer outreach interviews is road test some of the value propositions that we've got, on our list and see what people say. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yes, that's what I need. Or, tell me how that works, and you're going for that first answer.
I thought it was interesting when we have a few advisors and, we threw the first one out there, right? Got some feedback on it. You reworked it. And how is the reworking happening? Because you kind of worked with a new message last week, right? When you were talking to people. Is that one feeling closer?
I think it's just iterating, because you've got to listen to feedback. You listen to questions that you get like, oh, how does that, how does that get closer to answering my pain point in one sentence? You've just got to work through language. And for me, like, I'm a writer. I am very specific about language. I'm all over ChatGPT, like getting suggestions and like, how would I phrase X? And kind of mashing the volume that ChatGPT provides with my own language background. But ultimately, like I said, it's throwing out ideas and with audience until you get head nods. And I think that always be learning is kind of the model there.
Right. So does it look like, as of today, so today's Tuesday, does it look like the company will launch this week based on the things that you mentioned?
I think it's gonna have to be towards the end of the week, because what we're waiting on right now is we're waiting on illustrations for our website. So our website content is locked and loaded, but it's got placeholder imagery, and we're launching the site in phases. So the first phase will essentially be a home page, a sign up page, and terms and conditions. And the sign up page leads to demo signups. And as the weeks roll on, we'll be layering in pages that explain each of the main features that we have. It'll be, explaining how each feature answers pain points for, CMO marketing decision maker types, and building out our SEO strategy. Like, that's going to be really important as we get closer to launch and want to start generating some long tail SEO, volume around that. But like I said, at launch, first launch, company announcement, we need 3 images. We've got 1 made and we need 2 more. And I'm waiting on those from our illustrator. And I think that it's going to take, the next day to get a round back from him, have a round of changes, and then push it live. So that's the time scale that we're talking about. And I'm excited, as we have some more of these conversations, to talk a little bit more of the specifics of tangibly what this is like right now, because that's what we're talking about for the website launch.
Yeah.
And it's it's bit by bit.
Yeah. Okay, good. To kind of finish it up, top 3 things that we'll be focused on this week.
For me, it's
the launch.
For me, it is launching the website. It's getting that across the finish line. I think that the second piece is finalizing our budget through launch, because, we're really trying to stay lean for the next 6, 7, 8 weeks. And ultimately, this is fueling the fire to find our first handful of customers, and so finalizing our budget so we know what we're working with for the next couple of months is important. And then the third piece that I'm going to be deep diving on, that I'd like to have a framework drafted by the end of the week, is building our email marketing program, because that's going to be important to follow up with leads that come from the website, as well as ongoing kind of lifecycle marketing around, where they come in from the website, did they come in through social, what are their pain points, how can we address them, how can we share the demo, how can we share special offers. Definitely we're going to be creating guides and hopefully helpful content. And so building out that plan to distribute that, I want to get that ball moving so that it's in place by the time we actually launch.
Right. I think that through some of the questions that are coming through right now, I wanted to thank those of you that have been introducing us to people, asking us questions and things like that. Good morning, Kate. One of the questions that came through was through Natalia, when she asked you last week about what motivates and what's the motivation and mindset of an entrepreneur. So I wanted to just wrap it up, because you had asked me to give my thoughts on that. So, I think as far as mindset, it's that this sounds a bit trite, but we can do it. Whatever it is, what's the best way to get there? It's not, oh, this is too hard. I don't think that ever enters my mind. And I don't know if that's just because I've grown up in this valley, but it's it's always about just coming up with the creative way to do it, but making sure it's the right way to do it, as close to right as it can be when you're iterating, as you've been saying. So I think, there's something in kind of the mentality there. And then as far as motivation, for me, it's bringing something to life with a group of really cool people, which Rae is one of those. So thank you very much, Rae, for your time. And we'll be talking again Thursday, hopefully with a little more details about the company launch.
I hope to have some more updates then. A couple days.
Okay. Have a good one. Talk soon.